I'm Nick G. This is my couch. I named my thing today The Art of Storytelling. What's happening is it's currently 20 minutes after 8. WWE Monday Night Raw has just started. And I am kind of I'm going to watch wrestling because I don't want to get paid, have to pay WWE for any of their footage, copyrights, what you not. But as this is on, I would just want to be right here and speak to a piece that I wrote called "Sell Everything," where it goes through the value of um, every move in the WWE, WWF in the day, professional wrestling as a general sense. Every move is to garner money, create money, generate capital. First, they need the money from you putting your ass in the seat. Good old JR always said that they want to put asses every 18 inches. And then they get that money. So once they got that ticket, you are getting your value of entertainment. But they want you to go buy that shirt. They want you to go buy those wristbands, that headband, the vitamins. You know what I mean? The replica belt. So the whole thing is a sale. So I'm going to sit in. I'm going to kind of watch a lot of wrestling. Like I say, current wrestling, current WWE product. It's a lot of shit talking. It's a lot of recap. It's a lot of, narration, storytelling. That's the whole point. Right now they have a match going on. It's what they're trying to do. It's two masked wrestlers. The funny thing, which I find funny as a wrestling fan, is it's two American dudes. What one guy was just changing his gimmick up a little bit. He was all Mr. USA, and then there was a situation, in the storyline where he needed to seek different help, and he created this character, El Grande Americano. An American dude, luchador, masked wrestler. And actually, now that I'm looking at his mask kind of makes me think of All Might from My Hero Academia. Similar to that. But it was such a hit. And it was such a hit in a way that when WWE partnered with AAA Wrestling, which is south of the border, it's established here up in North America, but it's Mexican wrestlers, it's luchadors. When they partnered up, doing this mass wrestling gimmick creates a dynamic of representation, even though this right here is an American dude. Chad Gable is his wrestling name. But he's wrestling now with, in the gimmick, other people were El Grande Americano, and they had different accents. One dude is literally German, speaks with a German accent, you know what I mean? But he says Spanish things in a German accent. It's funny. But the representation is about the luchador, which gives rub to the AAA wrestling, which gives rub to Latin or Hispanic audiences. I got to stop saying Latin, because by saying Latin, I'm giving credence to Greece, Rome, you know what I'm saying? All that dynamic, when I'm talking about native people to the United States, North America. I say United States in the modern parlance, but North America as the whole. So watching wrestling, the reason that I came on, like I said, I wrote a piece called Sell Everything. And in it, the whole concept, going through the carnival history, the word kayfabe, meaning, the storyline thing, and all that. Kayfabe is playing in character. When we're watching TV shows, you know what I mean? You're watching Alf. Brian never goes on to be the actor if you were in the set, you know what I'm saying? They are always in character. So Brian is kayfabe. He stays in kayfabe until the director says, cut. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the stuff that I want to bring attention to, and is the point of me putting on wrestling. And no, I don't want you, the viewer, to watch me watch wrestling. I'm just staring. But a lot of the stuff that I write about is using professional wrestling as activism. Activism. Anybody who knows Insane Clown Posse, yes, there was a lot of word of mouth spread of ICP and Psychopathic and Twisted and, you know, the Dark Carnival world. But I'm a wrestling fan. So I would see, you know, the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, the one that was using Scott Hall, the one that was using backyard style wrestling movements. And it was ridiculous, almost Gwar level stage show silly. You know what I mean? And so what? They do their moves. I pop. They break a table. I pop. Boom, boom, pew. They drop off some Fago. That's pop. They're from the Midwest. And everything is about the sale. But why do I keep going on about a group that I peripherally listen to? Because from the wrestling community, which they were fans of, they were able to market their rap community, which they were fans of, in which they created their own independent version of a music scene to a point. To a point. How many rappers do you know who have an annual gathering of their fans? You get a genre gathered. You know what I'm saying? The Insane Clown Posse, Psychopathic Records, Hatchet Man is the logo. They have the gathering of Juggalos annually in Michigan. Annually. Back to wrestling. The reason they do it, because in the Attitude Era, you could not watch a single episode without seeing somebody tight to the camera holding up a small Hatchet Man logo, not words, logo, or you'd see way in the back once they'd be showing the woo, W-O-O-O-O of all the fans holding up the signs when Ric Flair was on. You'd also see fans holding up the Psychopathic logo, the Hatchet Man, one icon. Now, when I'm talking about the icon, you think about, you know, I'm as old as Star Wars. Clearly, I'm a fan. We're the same age. We're twins. We're siblings. So when I see the logo of the Mandalorian, the entire canon of the Mandalorian gets downloaded into my head. I see the logo, and it's not. It's a zip file. You unzip it. It's Ursula turning from Ariel back to Ursula just by looking at a logo. And that's how the Hatchet Man benefited the crowd from the crowd in live WCW, live WWE, Monday Night Wars tip right there, Attitude Era. They were able to populate just from somebody watching a different product and seeing their shit. Tying that back to this match, I'm watching two luchadors. Have a duel, which is immediately, if you understand wrestling as a cultural experience, everything is communication. Saying nothing is communication. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, when I beef with my kid's mom, and she always has to have something to say, sometimes the right thing to say is nothing. Dig it? So I'm watching wrestling. Everything is communication. Everything is a dollar coming out of your pocket. Everything. They got your money for your seat. Jim Ross, asses every 18 inches. They want you to buy the t-shirt, the logo, the Funko. They want you to pay $12 so you can stand next to your homeboy and watch him sign autographs. The ones that have the Legends contracts. Everybody should be seeking out Leilani Kai's signature right now. WrestleMania 1. Dig it? Legends contract gives stories of the road from the women's perspective, talks about being on Fabulous Moolah's land, farm, land. I don't know. There was houses. There was a pool. She ran a restaurant that the girls worked at. Fabulous Moolah was the gateway to get to other wrestlers. I'm spinning off about what I'm actually talking about, but I can't talk about it enough. Value. Even the last nuts are starting to open up of the old guard. Mark Calloway, otherwise known as The Undertaker, the Dead Man. He's opening up. He's telling road stories, not as The Undertaker, but as Mark Calloway, the badass, the American badass. I still hear Limp Bizkit rolling. I'm still excited that I could play. What was that like? I don't know. WWE 2011, where you could play Fred Durst as a playable character in the WWE 2K, whatever. No, it wasn't even 2K yet. So history is important. Breaking road stories are important. I've heard every one of the boys. That's my Stone Cold. When I think about the boys, I immediately think of Stone Cold Steve Austin talking to, the boys talking about the things. But that's because that's the voice that I grew up watching. As the nuts started to open up by another piece that I wrote, Wade Keller and the likes of him, the pioneer of independent new media journalism in a kayfabe world. Right now, I'm listening to Michael Cole, and he's telling me about WrestleMania. He's telling me about WrestleMania, which is in April. I'm looking at it, April 19th. Hello? He's selling tickets for April 19th, WrestleMania. It's going to be in Las Vegas. Now that WWE is owned by TKO, the same company that brought you, that brings you UFC, brings you WWE. Vince McMahon is no longer involved, other than his son-in-law is head of creative. The art of storytelling is politics. When I'm watching WWE and programming like this is the art of storytelling for entertainment. I know which right now, Roman Reigns is on the screen. The Usos are on the screen. And what I'm seeing is positivity. The center of the story, the art of storytelling, is a man named Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, going back to ECW. So the story right now is Paul Heyman is the God creator of talent. The God creator of talent in our modern era. So through his tenure into wrestling, Paul Heyman put on CM Punk. CM Punk is a Paul Heyman guy. Paul Heyman in the real world is very good friend. He's really good friends with CM Punk. Paul Heyman is an absolute mensch. No matter what he is on TV, Paul Heyman himself is an absolute mensch. And he creates greatness. Another Paul Heyman guy, because he's friends with him on the outside, where Brock Lesnar is a very unique individual. You have driven people, and then you have a man who was recruited from college into the business and has been able to make his own way. That's Brock Lesnar. But Brock Lesnar is a Paul Heyman guy. Roman Reigns, your tribal chief, has been a Paul Heyman guy for like 2 years. They've been operating on a system of um, this storyline of the bloodline, which is the Samoans, and taking this further back. The Samoan bloodline itself is of Paul Heyman lineage because he managed Alpha, and Sika, the Wild Samoans. While I'm going back to the Wild Samoans, I'm going to tell you a quick story about why Paul Heyman can no longer rent from Hertz if he's using a car. The Wild Samoans, love is love. Breaking bread is breaking bread. Sometimes the rib goes too far. And when they don't like you, you are on the wrong side. So Paul Heyman and the Wild Samoans are driving. And they're driving next to other people who are in the company who are going to the next show on the road. That's what they did. They went show to show. And they carpooled because every one of them is freaking cheap. Because being cheap is what they were taught on the car rides while they were sleeping in the hotel rooms. So the Wild Samoans and Paul Heyman are driving. And the people in the other car started razzing them, like full out outside the car talking shit. And it peed them off so bad that they went to the car, completely destroyed it, like meat and blood on it. You know what I'm saying? When they went to return the car to Hertz, they were permanently banned. And that's why in 2026, Paul Heyman is still not allowed to rent cars from Hertz. The Wild Samoans are Paul Heyman guys, which gives him the tree to the Samoans. Unknown Paul Heyman guy. Mean Mark Calloway. No, Mean Mark Callis, as he was known at the time. Mean Mark. He did promos that sounded more like Hulk Hogan. The Samoans. Roman Reigns. The Undertaker. CM Punk. Now, Seth Rollins was most recently a Paul Heyman guy, and which is where our story coalesces. Because CM Punk, the Paul Heyman guy, is trying to take on Roman Reigns, the Paul Heyman guy. Today's show, Raw, opened with Seth Rollins calling out Paul Heyman and Paul Heyman bringing out Brock Lesnar, a Paul Heyman guy. I am right now watching the Paul Heyman storyline. But what is all this? What is this me coming on? I like to talk politics as a fan. I love to watch wrestling. I just told you made up shit. I just told you made up shit, not the Hertz thing, but made up shit. I'm watching a performance. So in the opening, whole bunch of hood dudes come into the ring, right? And they come into this ring, and it's just confusion. Seth Rollins pulls his hood off. Oh, shit. Seth Rollins calls out Paul Heyman. Last week, he hit him with a chair. Paul Heyman comes out looking disheveled. He looks rough. Seth Rollins feeling all big dick. He's saying shit into the mic. And he's saying, you got a microphone, Paul, go on ahead and talk. And Paul, pitiful, bloodshot eyes, looking like fuck, hasn't shaved, comes shuffling out, pulls up his mic, and he says, F-A-F-O. F-A-F-O. F-A. F5. The F5 is the finishing move of one Brock Lesnar. All of a sudden, Brock Lesnar's theme music hits. Paul Heyman guy comes out to beat up Paul Heyman guy, who is the newest addition, the newest faction, the Visionary. The two tag teams are in it. Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed. Now, these are big, bulky dudes. Whew. Bronson Reed has an impressive independent record as a fan. I've seen him as a fan. But Bron Breakker is the son of the dog-faced gremlin Rick Steiner. Lineage is everything. Dig? Lineage is everything in wrestling. Without connectivity, the story doesn't stick together. So lineage has to be driven. History has to be driven. That's why going back to Lilani Kai, that's why she's so important right now, because she has those stories of Wendy Richter. She has those stories of wrestling in Japan that you don't get. I mean, you can get little, passing. Women's wrestling wasn't carried by the international wrestling community until the post-Diva world. Like, I feel like AJ Lee planted those seeds when she was two women's champion to be a diva, because the women's champion stopped. And then the women's championship came back. In between this, tying everything to politics, because Vince McMahon is his own biosphere. This window of time between women's championships and women's championships was when Vince McMahon was getting his talent from the Miss Hawaiian Tropics competitions, bikini models, so they could have bra and panty matches. In fact, he was letting women go who had technical wrestling training because he just wanted titty models. That window of time, back to politics, is when Donnie Doo-Doo and Jeffy E, they were also going from their modeling world into the Miss Hawaiian Tropic stuff, bringing up Ashley Mazzaro, who was mentioned in the Epstein files, from New Jersey, was very small, mentioned to be one of Jelaine, worked for Jelaine, got pregnant in school, was also in the Miss Hawaiian Tropic scene. Sad story. She was raped, sexually assaulted overseas at a tribute to the troops show that WWE had done, and there was an absolute cover-up. Bring again my guy Wade Keller, because without independent journalism, new media, in the kayfabe world, we wouldn't have known. Thank you to people like Wade Keller and the media that he created and helped and fostered, that gave way to other people, as we have our new media world. The art of storytelling. You want to imply. You want the people to suspend their imagination. But in order to suspend your imagination, you need to not say too much. I referenced the time that I saw King Kong Bundy get picked up by his hair, and he doesn't have hair. That was a bit too far. You know what I'm saying? That's too much. As I'm watching this show, I'm going to start watching a little bit more of the crowd, because to me, the crowd is everything. The crowd is everything. When we're watching punditry, when we're watching news media, what we're watching is the show is speaking to us, and we're learning a language. We're learning We are learning how to utilize this framework. The buzzword is the Overton window. Why do I know that? Because I watch enough media that the word drips out of my mouth like saliva when I'm hungry. I didn't put it there. I didn't look it up. To this day, I only know the context and the use because of watching the news. Right now, AJ Lee is coming on. The big deal about AJ Lee, I just mentioned her. AJ Lee is from the diva era. You know what I mean? And her thing was give divas a chance. Give divas a chance. Hashtag. And then Bree, one of the Bella twins picked it up and started taking credit for it. But right now, going into the ring, the Women's Intercontinental Championship is AJ Lee, absolute diva era, everything, against Bayley. Now, Bayley, pre-Bayley and Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné now. But pre-Bayley and Sasha Banks, the women's locker room was a lot like the men's locker room. Like if you ever watched any modeling thing, cheerleading thing where girls are really catty and cutthroat and cliquey. Bayley and Mercedes, Pamela and Mercedes, that's Bayley's real name, Pamela Martinez. And Sasha Banks' real name is Mercedes. I'm drawing a blank. Factoid. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné now, is Snoop Dogg's cousin. Like he's done appearances with her, Snoop Dogg, WWE Hall of Famer. Is he a Hall of Famer? Maybe. Alum? I'll go with that. He's in the celebrity wing along with your boy, Donald Trump. So when Bayley and Sasha Banks, now starting over, NXT, you have 3 levels. You have NXT, which is kind of like the finishing school for performers, okay? They're recruiting athletes, they're recruiting independent wrestlers, and they're teaching them the professional skills that they utilize in the professional business of professional wrestling. So they create a finishing school. So NXT is that. They partnered with Full Sail University, so people learning how to produce were teamed up with people learning how to wrestle. That was the initial program. Both brought up by, NXT as the concept was thought up by Paul Levesque, who is now the head of creative, who is also Vince McMahon's son-in-law. So Bayley and Sasha Banks, I'm going to use the WWE name because period of time, that's who she was. When they were in there, they were just wanting to have fun. And they were so positive. They were so helpful. They were such loyal fans of the game. Not the game, Triple H, the game, but the game, the wrestling gimmick. They were such fans of the product that all they did was study, work to be better. And they just created that environment. And in that environment was Charlotte Flair was in that environment. Becky Lynch was in that environment. After that class of those, what are called the Four Horsemen, because that's how they were marketed, the art of storytelling. That's how they were marketed in NXT. So when they came to the main roster, they were marketed in competition of each other. You know what I'm saying? So when they were in NXT, they had changed the game in such a way that everybody started being positive. The women started being competitive because Bayley didn't grow up watching the women wrestle. Not that she didn't, but her favorite wrestler was Randy Macho Man Savage. Why wouldn't she do men's matches? Now, Bayley and Sasha Banks through NXT, they would have some of the most bang out and smash mouth matches that were just above and beyond, to a point where WWE's NXT premium, what do they call it? Premium live events. I'm a PPV guy, pay-per-view. Premium live events, PLEs, they were doing better than actual main event, main roster pay-per-views. They were getting all the fanfare. They were getting all the stuff. The art of storytelling at this time, only because it's still on my screen. AJ Lee versus Bayley. You have the past handing off to the future. Dig? The past to the future. Now, Bayley's an old head in wrestling terms. You know what I'm saying? Like, she has been looked over and she's been used to give other people the rub. Another example of that is Natty Neidhart. She never holds the gold. She gives the gold holder the rub by implication. Another example of that is Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler. I was thinking, what's his name? Dirk Diggler. Funny. But Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth is his real name. He came in. He was a member of the Spirit Squad. Nicky! And I was a cheerleader in high school, and I hated it because in the party house I listened, everybody look at me. And I'd be like, you know. But anyway, this man is the absolute workhorse. He was never given the belt to carry, to go visit sick kids in hospitals and, sign Make-A-Wishes. He was the guy that they would put in who would demonstrate their mettle in the ring, their ability to do, because this man could be the bad guy, the good guy, the ring general, the listener. You know what I mean? He could just be the guy giving the sale. In professional wrestling, Sell Everything is the name of the piece I wrote. In professional wrestling, the guy who's getting the shit kicked out of him, not all the time, but when it's a real technical move, the guy getting the move is in control. Example, I just watched AJ Lee jump off a turnbuckle onto Bayley. Bayley's entire gig, while looking like she was just getting body slammed to the mat by a body, slamming her body, she was catching AJ Lee off the rope. By catching AJ Lee off the rope, taking the impact, she was actually having AJ Lee's momentum cradle them into the mat. Biology is such a bitch, correct? So the point of this match, and why am I saying that Bayley is the future? Because AJ Lee is the past. AJ Lee is the Gigi Mama of the locker room right now. I'm saying it, and I can't think that there's even a more senior Natty. Natalya Neidhart might be a little bit older than AJ Lee. I know she was with the company longer, but I can't say for certain. AJ Lee is married to CM Punk. CM Punk, Paul Heyman guy, was at the end of the main event, closed out the show last week, and it was on SmackDown. And it was, I thought it was a Met promo, but it was setting up this. The problem with WWE programming, it's 3 shows continuous. And then you have AAA wrestling. So you have NXT, the training show. You have SmackDown, which is where the flagships people go to SmackDown. The people who aren't flagship people go to SmackDown. When you get brought up to the main roster, you go to either or. Monday night is the flagship. Monday night is legendary. Monday night Monday Night Raw, coming to you live from Albany, New York, was in competition with WCW Nitro. A lot of the WCW people were people who had left the WWF, eventually WWE. That's how Hollywood Hogan was born, because Hulk Hogan was dead. That's how Macho Madness happened, with the black and the white. I see him brought out right now. This year's WWE 2K game is themed about the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era. So it's rough for me, who grew up watching Macho Man, when I saw his first debut on WWF. He looked like a homeless bum with a lot of sparkles. It was, oh yeah. He wasn't fleshed out. He was still himself. He wasn't fleshed out. Randall Poffo is his name, brother Leaping Lanny Poffo. Randall Poffo was like a baseball kid. So seeing him old in the game kind of fucks with my head. But during the WCW era, he was old. At the time of his passing, he was white haired. WCW had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Without those two men, the Clique, KLIQ, you wouldn't have the NWO. Now, as soon as you would hear that, because the concept of the NWO, we're taking over. And they did. Until eventually it was revealed that Eric Bischoff, the GM of WCW, was in on it the whole time, Daddy. And then everybody became NWO. You'd see them come out in conflict, peel off their shirt, throw up the too sweet. And it was awesome. So it was everybody. If everybody's on the same team, who are you fighting? The NWO split. NWO red and black, black and white. LWO, eh? All of a sudden, the Latin World Order comes out to Viva la Raza. The Guerreros, Conan, Rey Mysterio. Which takes me to the premise of the movie American History X. Everybody can be individual, but the community needs each other to survive, right? And that's what happened. The community was together to survive. When they started fractioning off, you're fighting each other. But they had nobody to fight. All right. They did have Diamond Dallas Page to fight. He never joined. The art of storytelling. You get what I'm saying? The art of storytelling. When I go back and I watch this stuff, there's a lot of cheap pops. Me being emotionally invested, I'm like, yo. But I mean, to the casual fan, it don't mean nothing. You have to be invested in the story. So while I get hyped, and I get hype reactions from people who are also fans, if we see an NWO, if I too sweet somebody who I do not know, wearing a Clique shirt, wearing an NWO shirt, wearing a Wolfpack shirt, we have an emotional connection. It doesn't mean we saw the same thing. We were involved in the art of storytelling. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens in the ring. That's what happens in the ring. Sometimes you'll see people roughing around, and it isn't like UFC, meet. The storytelling for a UFC ring happens outside the ring. what happens inside a wrestling ring, the story starts behind the curtain. The story continues through the curtain. And then after that performer comes back behind the curtain, the story continues with the crowd. Because just like I told the story of the NWO leading in with the Monday Night Wars, that's not the story you're going to get popping on an episode. That's the story you get from a lifetime of fandom. You know what I'm saying? Because in a similar frame, I'm also a comic book guy. Right now, the thing happening is the Absolute Universe. In the Absolute Universe, Darkseid went way the fuck back in time, sprinkled a little Darkseid crack on everything, and everybody grew up a little different. Wonder Woman grew up in hell. She was raised by Cersei. You know? Batman grew up and didn't grow up in rich people. Still had his mom. Actually, his mom was stuck in Jim Gordon, he found out. But he becomes Batman. He's a construction worker. There's a point where Jim Gordon says to him, "Look, my guy, I know you're Batman. You're 6'5". You're like 300 pounds. That's not normal shit." The Absolute Universe changed everything up. The Joker, Poison Ivy, but the Lantern Corps. We got a series coming out soon, Lanterns. And the most commonly known, because green was the cheapest color to print. Everything was green. The Hulk was green. Green Arrow, Green Lantern. The Green Lantern, in the Absolute series, we find out the ring isn't dedicated to a color. As I don't have my book right here. As told in the Blackest Night series, each ring isn't dedicated to a spectrum. In the Absolute Universe, the ring has a spectrum, and the individual is the power source. Because of Darkseid, this whole thing changed up. Okay, so just to give completion, AJ Lee the Past just defeated Bayley for the title of the Intercontinental, women's strap. And Bayley, wait, I didn't see who won. Bayley won. The handing off was to the next generation from AJ Lee. AJ Lee was the vessel. I gotta look that up because now I feel like I lost it. Still not saying it. I should have been watching. I was not watching. My bad. But anyway, I don't recognize Bayley's new music if that's what it was. Talking, artist storytelling. So yeah. So when I'm looking out in the crowd, I'm looking out in the crowd right here, and I'm seeing like a lot of yeet. So I wrote a piece. I'm writing another piece. But I wrote a piece about utilizing the live Monday night, Friday night. I don't really watch NXT. I think it's Tuesday night. NXT, I think, is Tuesday night. I think AEW is Wednesday. I really don't tune in. Evening is kind of like my quality time with my person. You know what I mean? So I don't watch a lot of this live. Only when she's not around. Monday Night Raw. She just happens to be at work and I'm here. So I wrote a piece about utilizing the live WWE shows, one in each city 3 times a week. Sometimes the next show is just the next city over. But utilizing it for progressive messaging. Every time someone's music hits, boom, that's 15 seconds starting at the ramp and moving down. 15 seconds minimum. If you don't see the ramp, that person doesn't matter. They're cutting that time out to show you an ad, because everything in wrestling is about a sale. So boom, music hits. Individual somebody starts walking down the ring. You have 2 sides. How am I doing this? 2 sides of the aisle where there's people standing. Every time somebody walks down the aisle and that camera is on, one of those 2 sides of the aisle are going to be seen. Now, the piece that I'm writing, I center on Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes gave a promo to Ric Flair, The Art of Storytelling. Dusty Rhodes was taken out of work because of this elitist Ric Flair. Dusty Rhodes, the son of a plumber, couldn't make ends meet. So young Cody, young Dustin, Mama Rhodes, they weren't able. Okay, now that I see what's happening. AJ Lee won the belt. Bayley did not win the belt. AJ Lee won the belt. The past is keeping the past, because as I named Bayley, one of the 4 horsemen from NXT, I'm also naming Becky Lynch, who is right now whooping the fuck out of AJ Lee, the current strap holder. So, The Art of Storytelling. The past has the title, maintained the title through one of the 4 horsemen, women, and is now being faced with Becky Lynch, Rebecca Quinn, the man of the women's division. That was her whole thing. I'm the man of the women's division. Then she whooped ass through all of them. But number 2 of the 4 horsewomen is coming after AJ Lee, the head of the old guard. The Art of Storytelling. I was talking about Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes, working man, Ric Flair, elitist. Let me see if I remember. Limousine ride. High fly. I got it wrong. High fly. Limousine ride. Something. Boo. Anyway, I didn't have it. Sometimes it's on my tip, sometimes it's not. Working man, elitist, nothing but money. Nothing but money. That man lived the character Ric Flair, in spite of everything. So the campaign is based on Dusty Rhodes, hard times. He comes back, just comes back to work. I'll tell you about hard times. Hard times is a computer taking your job. Hard times is not being able to make ends meet. I'm paraphrasing. Hard times is when you work for a company for 30 years and they give a man a watch and then they kick him on the butt on the way out. That's hard times, daddy. So, that's the campaign. The elites. The regular man. Son of a plumber. So you have the guys coming down the lane right now. Music hits. Wrestler comes down. Cameras following the wrestler down. Each side of the aisle coming down, the camera is focusing at least 15 seconds. Somebody could be on there with their shirt. Somebody could be on there with their sign. They take signs away, have a marker. have a sign with a blank back. At AEW shows, fuck Ice chants have been going. While I was just talking about Ric Flair, the Elite, and I'm talking about Dusty Rhodes, the working man, the American Dream, I'm talking about WWE. I'm talking about AEW. The WWE is owned by TKO. It is owned by the same company that owns UFC. The WWE has been chasing Riyadh money. The UAE. The UAE, the rumor has it, is working with Vince McMahon to purchase the WWE. AEW is owned by Tony Khan. Tony Khan's father owns the Carolina Panthers. Tony Khan, going back to my guy Wade Keller, who I wrote about, check out my shit. Wade Keller, during his kayfabe coverage of independent journalism, new media, Tony Khan was writing editorials into Wade Keller's newsletter, the PW Torch. Tony Khan is a fan. When Tony Khan was kicking up, he was partnering up with Chris Jericho, when he was partnering up with Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes is one of the initial people. Oh, Cody Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes' kid, son of a plumber, the working man. Whereas Dusty Rhodes is the American Dream, Cody Rhodes is the American Nightmare. Lineage. I just told you about lineage. I just talked in a whole dang circle. I'm not even talking about wrestling. I'm talking about the art of storytelling. I'm talking about the art of narration. I'm talking about the value of lineage in kayfabe. Son of a plumber. AEW is getting Ice chants. Why is AEW getting fuck Ice chants? Because normal fucking people can reach into their pocket and go to a fucking AEW show because the guy who owns the company is a fucking fan. I went to an AEW show. At the end of the AEW show, I'm walking out, I'm getting in my car. As far as my arm is out from my body to my fingertips, and as a fan who respects the fandom, who respects the give that these individuals give of themselves, you are no longer you. You are a product. So I'm fingertips away from the Hardy Boys talking to fans, and I gave them the respect of just saying, I appreciate your show, as I walk past, not interrupting anybody, not blocking somebody, because they owe me nothing. They owe me nothing. They gave it to me. I already got it. I've been getting it for years. I just wanted them to hear my voice say it. Thank you. And keep walking by. Access. Access. While I'm talking about live WWE programming, specifically tonight, not tonight, Monday Night Raw, live on Netflix, is in every country on the globe at the same time that gets into access to Netflix. Right now, I'm looking at Penta, a masked wrestler who speaks Spanish in his promos. Representation matters. Is he talking to me? He's talking to the wrestling fan. Is he talking to me? Bruh, I don't understand a word that man says. But the caption, and I'm not kidding, will literally say, speaking in a different language. I just think that's funny too. So they aren't speaking to me and my region. But this masked wrestler wrestled in the AAA. In the AAA, they have different rules where women and men, they wrestle together. Why? Because it isn't real competition. It's showmanship. I'm trying to remember. There's like a 9-year-old girl who wrestled Kenny Omega in Japan and dominated his ass. And it is one of my favorite things because all of her movements were so crisp. Right now giving commentary to The Art of Storytelling, which is WWF, which is WE, AEW, WCW, ECW, AAA, TNA, ROH, Ring of Honor. So the value of what I'm seeing, because right now you have Spanish-speaking luchador in the middle of a ring giving a completely Spanish promo. I'm putting on my specs so I can see more stuff. And I am seeing children. I'm seeing children wearing their masks. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing children who are chanting Spanish. I'm looking to look at the captions to see if they do the speaking, foreign language thing. Speaking in Spanish. Sierra Miedo. That is what he says. Sierra Miedo. He does a little M. And how's it go? Sierra Miedo. And yeah, it's a big deal because representation matters. I made a commentary on an Adam Mockler video. Time isn't real. When my girlfriend isn't here, I'm pointing to where she chills on the couch. When she isn't here, I have no beginning and end. I exist. Does that make sense? To me, we. I am me, she is her. But when we are together, I have a beginning, I have an end. When she's not here, I'm just awake. So this morning, at like butt crack of dawn, I was doing commentary on an Adam Mockler vid. In the vid, he's covering one of the Trumps and Caroline Leavitt interviewing her, and half of the video is the right-wing show. He's giving adequate and exceptional recognition to what's happening, the propaganda, but he's actually putting those words in our ears. I reference Heavy D. And I give you a peaceful journey, brother. That is my shit. At a time when the Scantron is teaching the music industry that white suburbia loves spending money on angry black men saying gangsta shit. Heavy D made an album that used all of those buzzwords. There'll be no bum rushing. And he'll be using all of the words of the violence, of the denigration, of the angry black man that white America was spending chingle on, but embracing the New Jack Swing kind of thing that was happening. Teddy Riley, full swing, if I may. Peaceful Journey was written with a benevolent message of hope. My brain image, while clearly I remember what the cover is, you know what I'm saying? That's solid. My interpretation in my head, my brain's inside is gas. My interpretation of that inside is just angel wings and like a hazy purple. Positivity, hope. My favorite quote about hope is Pauli Murray. Hope is a song in a weary throat. My quote about hope: hope is the light that leads us. With Heavy D, the thing that I appreciated, he used all these negative connotations. If you were to do, one of those word bubbles, you'd get all the corporate nasty. But when you listen, he elevates the shadow so that the light spreads. You dig it? Genius. No different, the art of storytelling, than wrestling. They'll bring somebody on, and this person will come on, and like I said, we're all buds around here. When somebody brings somebody on and they're on the mic and they're talking shit about what a bag of shit they are, how they did them wrong, they're implying their own virtue. They're using that shadow to create a light. Now, nobody wants to look at a light just turned on. It gives you a flash. It makes your eyes kind of a little funky. But people used to watch shadow boxes just to watch the flicker for entertainment, so you could tell a story. The art of storytelling. So right now, what is the art of storytelling? In this show, I'm watching Battle of the Paul Heyman Men. I'm a Paul Heyman guy. On this show, I'm watching my second match with two luchadors. I'm not sure AJ Lee's heritage, but I do know that Bayley's heritage, Pamela Martinez, is Hispanic. Spanish speaking, Spanish promos. Here we are in 2026. Fuck ice chants are happening in the cheap seats because the cheap seats can afford to say fuck ice. These people who are paying big money to go to these WWE shows, they're giving up stuff. They're going without to get these seats. A sign I saw from last week was actually at an AEW show. I didn't have to sell a kidney to buy these tickets, which is what you have to do. Because what does capitalism do? Capitalism is a cancer, right? It feeds itself on you. Now, I'll be 49 in October. I'm 48 right now. I was born in 1977. All messaging. We're picking up messaging all of the time. You know, we're picking up messaging all of the time. We don't think about what we say. We don't think about what we do. We're in a perpetuous conversation. We're in a perpetuous conversation in a way that we're in the middle of a syllable as far as timelines go. And we don't hear the whole word. Which is why when I'm watching wrestling, it's important to recount. It's important to recognize lineage. It's important for the understanding where they keep creating that logic. Shadow and light. When I'm watching wrestling, specifically when they come out to the ring and they're doing their microphone thing, this Spanish-speaking man, this two luchadors in the ring, they're going to commercial and coming back, which means this isn't like a 3-minute squash match. The focus. Who's the market? Where's the conversation? And who are they speaking to? Right now, they're trying to get all these Hispanic eyes on the WWE product. How do I know? I just watched the Spanish promo. I just watched 2 matches with 2 luchadors in them. All the signs, I'm seeing Spanish signs. I'm seeing children with luchador masks. So why do I say that? Because on the other programs, AEW, different company, people are chanting fuck ice. Now, I know at a WWE show, they take signs away. They make you remove, turn off, turn around, turn inside out clothing. But there are 3 places that progressives can be using this kind of television, live, globally, for progressive messaging, using my Dusty Rhodes, Hard Times. Now, earlier I was speaking about the iconography of showing you a hatchet man. I unlock Big Money Hustlers, Big Money Rustlers, Cactus Sack, Mick Foley, Mankind, Hell in a Cell participant with The Undertaker. Man, I'd watch that every day. Or putting my boots on. 20-minute match where The Undertaker choke slammed Mankind off the top of the steel cage onto the announcer's table. Every day. Well, I put on my boots. Well, I got ready for work. Every day. The art of storytelling. I watched that because Mick Foley, actually I think he's from like Syracuse. Mick Foley, he's from around here. He's my area of the nation. Mick Foley had given of himself. His tooth had come through his lip and was hanging out on his fucking mustache. They put him on a gurney. They start bringing him up the fucking ramp. He gets off the gurney, goes back and finishes the fucking match, dude. I watched that every day while getting ready. It was only recently, the art of storytelling, that they committed to saying that it was a gimmick. It was a stunt. It wasn't organic. I want organic. Dusty Rhodes giving his Hard Times promo. Hard times, daddy. That was not organic. It wasn't even shoot. But in 2026, neurodivergent hodgepodge, have a nice day. Put Mick Foley on the map outside of my genre. You know what I'm saying? Hard times. If I'm talking to a wrestling fan and they say hard times, I just unlocked a memory. I just unlocked a memory of someone watching Territory Wrestling on TBS. Now, if I go out in the street and I say hard times, well, maintain it. But if you establish the hard times gimmick, now I'm going back to what I'm talking about. When somebody comes down the ring, music hits, bing, you could be standing on the side with the hard times sign. Hard times. Hard times. Imagine if there's 3 people on each side with a hard times sign. Hard times t-shirt. This is the WWE. It's not odd. It wouldn't be flagged. But like how I'm doing this video right now, before I started a program of people going down the aisle with their hard time signs, their hard time shirts, I do a video like this. I do 2, I do 3, I do 10. It'd be a campaign. Hard times, daddy. Worked for a company for 30 years. They give a man a watch and kick him on the butt on the way out. Just start showing that promo over and over. Loop it, gif it, share it, spam it. Everybody knows the Andre the Giant obey sign, even if they don't know it's Andre the Giant, even if they don't get it. They know it. Hard times, daddy. So you're coming down the aisle. Music hits. Bam! Coming down the aisle. I'm awesome. High five. Or you're a jerk. You know, that kind of stuff. But no one's looking at you. The signs are everything. What's one of my favorite signs? Roman Reigns is coming down the aisle, and somebody holds up a big poster board that says, "Why is your hair always wet, Roman?" Yeah, Courtney. Yeah, what was his name? Fezzik? Fezzik? My girlfriend has the actual, see my hand? Has the actual book upstairs and taunts me because I'll reference A Princess Bride, and she'll be like, "You don't even read it." I did not. I saw the movie. Why? I'm a wrestling fan. Fezzik, that's right. So somebody's coming down the aisle. Hard time signs on each side. Hard time shirts. Because we've already established a campaign of Dusty Rhodes. Hard times, daddy. So they get to the ring. So they're staying in the ring. Once they're in the ring, they face what's called the hard cam. The hard cam is a fixed camera that is aimed at a certain portion of the ring, a certain side of the ring, and a certain portion of the fandom, the crowd. So if you are behind that portion of the crowd, you're on. If you're coming down the aisle, the hard cam faces the left side. So if you were on the side, now when I went to AEW, I was on the opposite side of the hard cam. When I watched the show that Thursday, I think it was Thursday. When I watched the show that Thursday, I was able to see my girlfriend and I in a certain spot, and that was cool because I was that's how I chose my seats. I wanted to see myself on TV. I was going to remember it forever. So on the side of the hard cam, right now I'm looking, and just real quick, I'm looking at the hard cam side, the opposite, and I see Stone Cold Steve Austin shirts. I see signs. It's my birthday. You know what I'm saying? I see a Pepsi sign. The reason that the Pepsi sign is significant, iconography is everything, has nothing to do with the beverage. It has to do with the fact that CM Punk, Paul Heyman guy, CM Punk has a Pepsi tattoo here. When he was doing his independent run, his finishing move was called the Pepsi Plunge. And so that's the significance. So with that being said, communication is everything. I saw a logo. And this logo, within the context, just like Ursula in The Little Mermaid, all of a sudden just starts blowing out from being fake Ariel into being big ass her. That's how my memories unlock. I saw a fucking Pepsi logo. Get it? So what I'm talking about, hard times, daddy. Work for a company for 30 years and they give you a watch, then they kick you on the butt. So my whole point is, you get on the hard cam, opposite the hard cam side. You wear the shirts that say hard times. Hard times. You hold up a sign that says hard times. You hold up a fucking sign of the Hard Times watch. Look, I just made your shirt. Hard Times and a fucking watch. Now you get your sign, Hard Times, with a watch. And you got 3 people on either side, a little bit away from each other, as people are coming down the ring. Hard times, daddy. You work for a company for 30 years and they give your man a watch. And then old boy comes out. I need a microphone. I got a microphone. And then the guy comes out and he gives his promo. Spanish things. So that's okay. Nobody gives a shit about your boy with the mic because the fans want to see the fans. And what are the fans doing? The fans are wearing signs and shirts. Hard times, daddy. And they got a picture of a watch. Hard times, daddy. You work for a company for 30 years. They give a man a watch and then they kick him on the butt as they replace his job with a computer. I feel like I'm just kind of piecing in my Dusty. I can't do the lisp like he does. But as I was speaking about Bayley and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter, ironically. The wrestler Paige, who maybe she's still in AEW. Anyway, those are that era of the horsewomen. Dusty Rhodes was the guy doing the training, giving them their gimmicks, giving them their promo tips. And every fucking one of them has a Dusty Rhodes impression. Now, darling. And it's funny because Paige is from England. Lineage is everything. Paige comes from England. Becky Lynch comes from Ireland. The UK has its own wrestling circuit. It's very much still territory. Paige's parents ran a territory, ran their own show. So she grew up in the game, in the gimmick. You know what I mean? So when she came to America, she had the lineage. A lot of the people in the wrestling community, it comes from the lineage. I'm trying to think. Carmella, the wrestler Carmella, her dad, I keep wanting to say Magnum TA, but I don't think, maybe Magnum TA, maybe. My brain just puts things together. Sometimes I run with it, sometimes I don't. But for example, the wrestler Tiffany Stratton, I feel like she was a gymnast. Her thing was she was showing interest. Her dad knew somebody, made a phone call, and got her into the gig. You know what I mean? On the other hand, you have somebody like Alexa Bliss, Lexi Kaufman. She was a cheerleader for something. She comes to Orlando, to the Performance Center, comes in through NXT. She is the first pure WWE product that came in through that program. Fact check me. I may be wrong. I'm a dude on a couch. I don't cite sources. I may be wrong. Let me be wrong. I'm a dude. I'm nobody. I don't claim to be greater than. I'm a fan. You know what I'm saying? Hard times, daddy. You work for a company for 30 years and they give a man a watch and then they kick him on the butt on the way out and they replace his job with a computer. How is Hard Times not a campaign? How? Any jabroni off the sun can yell, fuck ice. You know what I'm saying? We saw the pins at the State of the Union, at the State of the Confederacy. Because the State of the Union is the crowd in a WWE arena. So the art of storytelling, right now on the screen is Natty Neidhart. Natty Neidhart, as I mentioned, is a gatekeeper for new talent. In this ring right now, she's up against Maxine Dupree. Maxine Dupree started as a valet. She's slender. She's good looking. She's got exaggerated features in the sense that most people get fillers to look like her. Dig? It's just her. Now, she was teaming out. She's kind of a Goonie gimmick when she first came in, almost like a novelty. You know how they do it. They get a heavy slap nuts. They get an awkward slap nuts. Then they get an awkward smoke show to be with them. Basically, her previous faction was like the Big Bang Theory. That's the first time I thought that out loud. That's funny. Anyway, oh man, I'm gonna say, can you dig it a whole bunch? Maxine Dupri was completely embarrassed on one of her first, like she used to get roasted. And when I'm talking about the IWC, I'm talking about the international wrestling community. It is like right now on Substack, we're experiencing the international independent journalistic community of citizens coming together. We're all bubbling. We're all talking. We're all sharing. Rest of the community been doing it. Plugging my piece again. Wade Keller did it first by Nick G, a dude on the couch. Y'all ain't new. Y'all ain't novel. In fact, y'all disrespectful. I want you to go at Wade space Keller, follow, subscribe, create golden calves to this man because he did it first. The art of storytelling. The international wrestling community ripped this woman apart. And what did she do? She went, because lineage is everything. She went to the legendary Hart Dungeon. The Dungeon of the Hart family. Stu Hart had a bunch of kids. All of his kids wrestled. He used to hold camps and sessions and training in the dungeon in Canada. Natty Neidhart is Bret Hart's sister and his tag team partner, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. She's the kid from the lineage. So you have Stu Hart. You have Bret and Owen Hart. Bret Hart of the Hart Foundation teamed with Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Jim the Anvil Neidhart married Bret Hart's sister and had Natty Neidhart. Natty Neidhart is now the gatekeeper of the Hart family dungeon. Maxine Dupri got ripped apart for sucking in front of God the green grass and everybody. But she's aesthetically the right woman. So she went and she worked to the dungeon and she worked with Natty Neidhart. And she is now proving her mettle through her instructor, the art of storytelling. They have a rivalry. So what are they doing? Mentor, mentee. While I'm watching a competition on the screen, I'm watching a student and a teacher. Now, like I told you, the person doing the move is the one that's in control. The stunter, right? The person doing the stunt, the person doing the gimmick needs somebody to sell the gimmick. I talk about my guy King Kong Bundy, bald man, big bald man. Will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He burnt that bridge, and danced on it whoop, with his bald head. If he did not give the sale of somebody picking him up by his hair on his bald head, the other guy would have looked dumb. The show would have looked dumb. You understand what I'm saying? He committed to the gimmick. The sale is everything. Because if he didn't commit to the gimmick, His opponent that was supposed to be a badass, who he was supposed to defeat or not, you know what I'm saying, would have looked like a dumb fucking. Who cares if some clown is in the ring with a monster like King Kong Bundy? You know what I'm saying? No one cares. The art of storytelling. We aren't watching two people in the ring. We're watching a company of performers with an end goal of taking money out of your pocket. I'm watching this, and I'm watching them push for WrestleMania, which is coming up April 19th, Las Vegas. And I'm watching them talk about past shows. I'm watching them talk about next shows. Right now, I'm seeing fan reactions of people online that WWE has garnered, no doubt paid for it, because that's what they does, right? So what they're doing is the art of storytelling. And what I'm teaching while I'm watching ish wrestling, I have it on. It's my attention themed. What I'm teaching is, hey, progressives, this is how you use this particular live show, Monday Night Raw, that is distributed across the fucking globe right now. Right now, people around the world right now are watching Randy Orton on a cell phone, giving a promo, talking to Michael Cole, which is my third place that I'm going to bring up. Let me. Boom. The music hits. Nobody McDonough is walking down the aisle stunting. But we don't care, because we're on this show for our progressive messaging. So as Nobody McDonough is walking down the aisle, we got our Hard Times t-shirts with our watch. Hard Times, Daddy. We're holding up our Hard Times signs with a watch. We're spread out, so every time the camera's moving down, you're losing one Hard Times, Daddy, and you're picking up another. Hard Times, Daddy. He makes it to the ring. He walks up the steps. Doop, 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 doop. He's in the ring. He's giving his promo. Cut my music. Cut my music. They pan back. The hard cam pans back. So you're looking at this tiny ass little man, Nobody McDonough, who's standing in the middle of the ring. Behind him, this wall of fandom. This wall of fandom. This wall of fandom that in the Attitude Era was where I found out that my mom was a crack whore. This was where I found all those signs with the Hatchet Man. This is where, in the wall of fandom, in the Attitude Era, I saw InfoWars signs before anybody knew Alex Jones's name. So Nobody McDonough is in the middle of the ring, giving a promo about shit we don't care, because we're watching the fandom behind him. And they got Hard Times signs. Hard Times with a watch. Hard Times, Daddy. You work for a company for 30 years and they give a man a watch. And then they kick him on the butt on his way out and replace his job with a computer. Hard Times, Daddy. Ding, ding, ding. The match starts. Nobody McDonough and his opponent are doing the doodle. The announcer table. Michael Cole. Jabroni X. behind Michael Cole when he's setting up. They're taking a break while the medics are checking on a guy. They're taking a break while the guy just got kicked out of the freaking ring and he's rolling around on the outside. They went to the announcer table, Michael Cole. Who's behind Michael Cole? Now, if you're looking at my face, you see empty space. If I'm Michael Cole at the announcer table, these seats behind Michael Cole are going to show up at least once a match, at least once after the match, or between. Get it? This empty space on either side of my face could say hard times, and a picture of a watch. You work for a company for 30 years, daddy. They give you a watch and they kick you on the butt on the way out and replace your job with a computer. So you got the aisle. You got the aisle where hard time signs are every 6 seats. Hard time shirts are in those spaces while somebody's walking down. Now, if they got 6 matches, I'm thinking right now, start at 8. I think there's maybe an hour. I don't know everybody's theme music because there's new people. But I'm thinking like maybe 4 or 5 matches. Stephanie Vaquer. Ooh. International performer Stephanie Vaquer does not speak English. Where is she from? I feel like she's from Chile. From San Fernando, Chile. Let's recap what I've just said. 2 luchadors. 2 more luchadors. Spanish-speaking promo. Pamela Martinez. Stephanie Vaquer from Chile. The art of narration, right? The art of narration. Everything is communication. Everything. 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 I just communicated that I heard a noise. Saying nothing is communicating. Taking a pause is communicating. I'm setting you up. I want you to hang on this. I didn't finish what I'm saying. Now, Courtney, I want to dance on that table for a second. Yes, indeed. This is exactly why you see streakers at sporting events. This is exactly why it's a good spot for protest. Now, I've given you, and I'm talking about 3. Binky, binky, binky. I have a 4th. I have a number 4 in how to utilize specifically professional wrestling programming. And this ties into what you're saying, Courtney, because I don't want to dismiss that very, very, very good idea. And let me also say, hard times, daddy. You work for a company for 30 years and they give a man a watch and they kick him on the butt on the way out. And then they replace his job with a computer. Courtney, sporting events that are live are produced to cover the sport. The fans are the novelty that morning shows cover. In WWE, greetings, B. In WWE, professional televised wrestling, which goes live, the show they put on is not the show. The crowd is the show. The crowd is the show. During COVID, this company, it couldn't do the traveling road show. It couldn't be the carnival as is the tradition that professional wrestling started, right? Professional wrestling started as a carnival side act with two tough guys, Queensberry rules. It would be worked out who was going to win. But you couldn't see these two dudes talking. Kayfabe. Kayfabe is a carnival term. The carnival barker was in on it. The fighters were in on it. The valets, the managers, the popcorn guy, the guy taking the bets. It was a gimmick. And now here we are in 2026. In America, we have the Pete Rose economy, where Polymarket makes the decisions for us because somebody's making money and somebody's able to influence the market. And people who are plugged into that world are making decisions with American policy. Dig it? It's a work. It's a gimmick. The art of storytelling. Pete Rose being famously a baseball player, coach, who's betting on games, banned from the Hall of Fame, disgraced because he was betting on games. The gambling was the gimmick. But that's where we are right here. I'm not Bees, I was talking about that earlier. And that's the value. With WWE, you pay for access. With other franchises, because we don't have territories now. With other franchises, the accessibility is the draw. I spoke about being with arm's length of the Hardy Boys when Jeff Hardy had just teamed back up with Matt. And stuff like that. Going back, because history and lineage is a big deal. I grew up watching wrestling at the Glens Falls Civic Center. Glens Falls being where Hacksaw Jim Duggan's from. Ho! As a matter of fact, I can point to the house he owns on Keenan. I grew up watching wrestling at the Glens Falls Civic Center. The Glens Falls Civic Center is historic because Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, had met Mark Calloway, formerly known as The Undertaker, for the first time at the Glens Falls Civic Center. Big Van Vader was overseas and assaulted a journalist and was arrested. When Big Van Vader was not allowed, Undertaker and Vader had a rivalry. They were touring Europe. When he got arrested, they needed a new bad guy. They rebranded Dr. Isaac Yankem into Kane, the younger brother of The Undertaker, known as the Brothers of Destruction. They met for the first time at the Glens Falls Civic Center. I know this because Kane was being interviewed. Glenn Jacobs, mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, was being interviewed. And in the interview, he said Glen Falls And I'm like, no. What a not local thing to say. Boom, the music hits. Nobody McDonald strutting down the aisle, thumbs up, flicking boogers on people, because sometimes heels do that. All right, if I was a heel, I would be the booger flickingest dude ever. Like, you can't like me if I'm sliming you. That's heel work. Nobody McDonald's coming down the aisle. Boom, music hits. What's it sound like? Nobody cares, because here's a sign. Hard times. There's the watch. Hard times. He's walking down the aisle. He's walking down the aisle, and nobody sees him because you just see the hard times ad. Hard times with a watch. Hard times. He gets to the ring. He's walking up the steps, through the ropes, gets his microphone. I need to keep a good microphone around. He opens his mouth, and we don't give a shit. The hard cam sees this wall of fandom opposite the hard cam, behind Nobody McDonald in the ring, giving his program about what a dick lick he is or some stuff. Behind him is this wall of fandom with fans holding up signs that say hard times and a picture of a watch. Hard times, a big fat head's Dusty Rhodes with that hair. Man, he had hair in the 70s, in the 80s. As he got older, he had the polka dot gimmick. That was a different American dream. Because I'm talking about hard times, Daddy. You work for a company for 30 years. They give a man a watch and kick him on the butt on the way out and replace his job with a computer. Hard times, Daddy. So we've given our promo. We've seen the hard time signs. During the match, Michael Cole. Oh my God. Now, just to remind you, at WrestleMania, this man will be facing. Now, as Michael Cole's doing his due, talking his shit. Hard times with a watch. Hard times. You got somebody lifting up their shirt. Hard times, Daddy. So as this man's talking, and you see hard times in a watch. Dusty Rhodes, 1985. You worked for a company for 30 years. They give a man a watch. Kick him on the butt on the way out. And replace his job with a computer. That's hard times, Daddy. So there we go. We came down the aisle. We got signs. We got shirts. Hard times. We get to the ring. We're doing the hard cam promo. Fandom, whole wall of it. Hard times, Daddy. We announced during the match, through the match, after the match. Michael Cole's yapping his little yap. Hard times, hard times. It's my fourth estate. I can tell you what my fourth estate. I wrote a piece today about polling. The origins of polling is just knowing if people like the message, yes or no. You like this toothpaste? Yeah. I prefer fruity. It's minty. Yeah. That's how polling came into politics. Do you like this guy, yes or no? Yo, he just said this. Do you like it, yes or no? If he said this, waka, 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 would you like that better than if he said, Oh, you like better? Write that down. The primary system, as we know it, wasn't made legal till 1974. 3 years before I was born. In the 1900s, 1904, don't quote me, I don't cite sources. The primary system was 2 private clubs. The newly freed men had voted for each other, had voted for people with knowledge, common sense, experience, concepts that had value. The private clubs started choosing their lily white candidate. Lily white party. Dig it? So they would choose their lily white candidate that was going to be pro property owner, because in 2026, property is intellectual. Then as that went on, because a private club could say, this is our guy. The U.S. government could not. The U.S. government, with the ratification of new articles, could not single out certain people for benefit and certain people for not. Turns out, we just fought over that shit. So these private clubs are picking a guy, the white guy, the one that serves intellectual property, or as physical property as it was at the time. So they pick this guy. And then in order to make people believe in this guy, they would bring people in to talk on the radio. You own a radio station? Let me give you money. They would pay educational places to speak positively about. So you have campaign staff, spin doctors, pollsters. And that's moved on to a point where we don't know anything but spin doctors, pollsters, and campaign staff giving us information. They're giving us inside scoop. They aren't giving us inside scoop. They're leading us to a decision that has been poll tested in the same way that they test toothpaste. Do you like it minty or do you like it fruity? Yes or no? And that's how we're choosing our candidates. That's it. That's it. Marketing is everything. Messaging is everything. Professional wrestling is all marketing and messaging. So I'm going into, you walk down the aisle, hard times. The ring, the hard cam is aimed at the fandom, hard times. Michael Cole, the announcer, is saying his thing, hard times. The fourth component is the fandom. I watch a lot of Bulwark. I bitch about Bulwark a lot, but I watch it. I watch a lot of everything. But specifically, Sarah Longwell and her polling. I listen to the focus group. The focus group, the way it's designed, is a show where she kind of gives away a bit, not a lot. Same thing with Polar Coaster. Tommy Vitor. Steve Kornacki on MS now. What is polling? Polling is marketing. Marketing is messaging. So when they're polling you, as I wrote in my piece today, it's like Jim Jones asking around, trying to find out the exact right words to say to you, specifically you, to make you drink that cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, Flavor Aid, product placement, so he doesn't have to shoot you. Jim Jones wants the words to make you drink the cyanide flavor aid so he doesn't have to shoot you. And that is our punditry, our media market, and what polling is. And we act like it's politics. So the fourth estate of my progressive campaign, Hard Times, Daddy, Give a Man a Watch, is speaking to the fandom. You are not going to put out a casting call for a sample. You are not going to call phones and get a sample. You are not going to do an online survey and get a sample as pure. There are 3 WWE live shows a week, not including the PLE, which makes a 4th, right? So you automatically will have your Raw in your town. You will have a SmackDown in a different town. You will have NXT in a different town. And then you will have your PLE, your PLE something live entertainment. Anyway, in a different town. That's 4 places to get a pure sample in a string down a fucking road that you don't get your 100 never Trumpers, triple Trumpers, Biden guys. You get everybody. You go to this crowd right now where the Usos are speaking to LA Knight. Yeah. You go to where they are right now and you get a sample of that area. It's not going to be the same sample that you get here in Albany, New York. Albany, New York, live. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a different intellectual sample in Arizona, in Phoenix. You're going to get a different intellectual sample, the crowd in Albany and its surrounding region, than you are at MSG in New York City. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a different sample. But my point is, there are tens of thousands of people multiple times a week that somebody could be actively, hello DNC, could be actively engaging with the electorate. Why am I calling this the electorate? Let me tell you about a guy named Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon banks, and he has from the beginning, as a concept, on the lowest and least common denominator, right? I always say, I'm always curious myself. I always study the bad guy. In studying the bad guy, I learn bad guy tactics. I draw the nobody. I go to the loner. If you come to me, cool. I go to the people who have no community, no visible community, and I create community. It's important, but that's how white supremacy recruits. That's how Steve Bannon recruits. That's how Roger Stone recruits. That's how Trump World recruits. That's how Jeffrey fucking Epstein recruited. You create community with people that have none. Bring them into the fold, right? Bring them into the fold. Let me say this. That's how the black community, that's how the minority community gets along. When you go back to Seneca Village, some of y'all might know this joint is Central Park. To this day, Lineage, I call it Seneca Village because it's funny to me. When I'm watching TV, I call people by their other character names because I don't care. You wouldn't believe that I'm watching a show where Cheryl Hines is actually a character on the show that I'm watching. And the only reason I made the connection of who Carol Hines, like the human being, is because I watched the video where Tig Notaro was saying she just don't hang with her no more because of RFK. I was like, that's who? Blew my mind. The area, back to Seneca Village real quick. It was black people. It was Italian people. It was German people. It was a community of people supporting each other to get along, which is what a community does. The TV gives us the community. The internet gives us community. How many of us have made the joke about, hey, where do you know this person? We went to the same school, Facebook. Giving community to people that have no community is the base of the Juggalo Nation. Motherfucker. The base, and this is what impresses me about the gathering of Juggalos, going back to my Hatchet Man sign, the iconic emblem which unfolds and gives me this ICP intelligence on an icon. They gave people a home who otherwise had no home. B's free verse, true verse. Listen, neighborhood parties are where it's at. I am a house music head. I came to house music in a club. I came to house music eventually attending raves on the West Coast, a little bit in Nevada. But that's not house music. House music is disco. House music is disco. Why is it called house music? Because it got played at a house, not at the disco. Complete underground fandom. House music is a lost art because by now house music is called disco or it's called EDM. But I cannot always tell you what is, but I can always tell you what is not. I've been able to define out of house music, which I love, garage house, which is Larry Levan at Paradise Garage, UK Garage, which is in England, of course, totally different sound, techno, which is out of Detroit. But you have Chicago house, Frankie Knuckles, and that's the debate of house. Because while I just told you it's called house music because it was played at a house, Frankie Knuckles played warehouse music at the warehouse. So the record stores around the warehouse sold warehouse records, which got shortened to house records. Now you're talking about neighborhood parties. We don't have that. I went to school with a woman down the road. She had a big crush on my brother. I could never understand, me being the charismatic one of the two, my brother and I couldn't put a sale on her for nothing. And she wanted nothing to do with me, which is okay. But in our adulthood, being neighbors, we had, neighborhood relationship. When Charlie Kirk was shot, she unfriended me from socials. The art of storytelling. Right now, we're in the last part of this WWE live programming, the one that I'm teaching you how to be a progressive activist in. So the final part is always a setup. It's like, we finally got to the end. What they're doing right now is they're selling, because Sell Everything is the piece that I wrote about how WWE and professional wrestling cashes in on live television. They're selling WrestleMania, which takes place April 19th. Why do I go through that rigmarole? Because they keep putting it in my head. So right now they're selling what is going to be the headline. So Roman Reigns right now, Paul Heyman guy, is calling out CM Punk, Paul Heyman guy. The difference between the two, and mind you, there are two themes running right now. Communication is everything in the art of storytelling. We watched a lot of Latin wrestling, a lot of Latin representation. Like I says, I'm getting away from calling it Latin because Latin is Europe. Hispanic people, Hispanic culture was being represented heavily on this episode of Monday Night Raw. So back to the art of storytelling with the Paul Heyman guys. So that's what we have. We have our Hispanic messaging. We want you as a loyal marketing because the Hispanic demographic is a huge cash cow for professional wrestling because of luchadors. So like I say, we have our Hispanic reach out, and then our second is our wrestling fans. And I'm going to call it the Paul Heyman men. So Roman Reigns, the Paul Heyman guy, is your tribal chief. So he is above all. If we are in the ring, if we are in the arena, we acknowledge, I'm showing you my finger, we acknowledge him, our tribal chief. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman guy. To Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman is the wise man. So what's the dichotomy? I'll tell you what my dichotomy is. Hard times, daddy. CM Punk, the independent wrestler. Now, I'm going back to Roman Reigns, and I'm bringing you back to tell you about Roman Reigns a little bit more. Because Roman Reigns, the Paul Heyman guy, the tribal chief, your tribal chief, you will acknowledge him, comes from the lineage of the Samoans. And so the Samoan bloodline is one of the longest reigning bloodlines, of which The Rock belongs, of which Nia Jax belongs, of which the Usos belong, Rikishi, Umaga. And so there is a lineage, there is a royalty to Roman Reigns, the Paul Heyman guy, versus CM Punk, independent wrestler, Paul Heyman guy, fan, independent wrestling smart. He gives us the fandom, that fan favorite feel, because he's been dropping behind the curtain. And I'll tell you, the art of narration, the art of storytelling, he has a loyal fandom, because in a world of kayfabe run by Vincent Kennedy McMahon on the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, CM Punk sat with a microphone, crisscross applesauce, and he gave a pipe bomb, as it's known. Now, to the fan, it was shoot. To the casual observer, it was shoot. To the smart, thanks to independent journalists like Wade Keller, the independent journalist in kayfabe, New Journalism, I know that was not a shoot. That was a work that we all bought. That this man, this independent wrestler, this man of the people, was shooting on the company. So right now we have Roman Reigns royalty, Paul Heyman guy, against independent wrestler, independent man of the fans, going head to head, and they're facing each other in the ring, setting up for WrestleMania. I'm pointing to the WrestleMania sign. WrestleMania, April 19th, the art of storytelling. And how does that tie in for me? We're watching AEW shows. We are chanting fuck ICE at AEW shows. It goes viral. I share them myself. I know these performers when they are performing. I know when these performers are performing. The lower echelon people, they do it for the gifts. They do it for the gifts. I told you about Kenny Omega wrestling that 9-year-old little girl. And I'll share it every time. There's a wrestler named Orange Cassidy. His gimmick is he's not intense at all. He's chilling. I've seen matches where he fell asleep. And then the guy trying to fight him is trying to get at him. And then just as he's about to get his hands put on, Orange Cassidy rolls over and he misses. He'll put his hands in his pocket and tap, tap. And it confuses people. It throws people off. But it's a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? All this is a gimmick. It's a show. They show a dude named Danhausen. And he's creepy. He's weird. You almost never see him wrestle. Almost never. You don't need to. His gimmick is so strong. He tweets. He gets on stuff. The art of storytelling. He just came to WWE. They changed nothing. Because this man, this human, this cottage industry, his gimmick is so tight. You know? The art of storytelling. The fans choose their own adventure. If we don't like somebody, we don't like somebody. As a matter of fact, I was talking about Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman guy, your tribal chief, lineage of the Wild Samoans, lineage of the bloodline, lineage of High Chief Maivia, right? This man was shoved down our throat because I just gave you the rundown. I just gave you this man's pedigree. We didn't want him. We did not want Joe Anoa'i anywhere near this fucking ring without boots on his ass. And he got his ass handed to him for years because the crowd rejected him. So when he came on with the wise man, Paul Heyman, it became the most epic storyline that WWE, WWF ever created, ever. Perfect. Because we rejected this man. And he came to us. He took our respect. And now we acknowledge our tribal chief. Dig what I'm saying? Another example, Daniel Bryan. I'm a little guy. I'm like 5'6". I weigh like $150. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a big guy. I don't come from big people. Matter of fact, I used to entertain myself with my grandma because I could put my chin right on top of her head and I thought it was hilarious. So I come from little people. I'm glad what I got. But Daniel Bryan's just, he's around my size. Scrappy dude, technical wrestler, like a lot of holds and stuff. And the fandom is behind him. The fandom is behind him. He was not getting the push. Personally, Vince McMahon did not like him as a person, as a talent. And then when he'd get low, he'd come back because we would cry for him. We would yell for him. We would chant for him. Yes, yes, yes. Now I'm bringing up Daniel Bryan because I got a whole another campaign. Hard times, daddy. Hard times. You work for a company for 30 years. They give a man a watch. They kick him on the butt. And they replace his job with a computer. Hard times, daddy. That's one campaign. Daniel Bryan held the Eco Belt. The Eco Belt. It was made out of biodegradable stuff. And he was the Eco Champion. You know what I'm saying? That man, that belt. Now I'm hard times, daddy. Hard times. And you give a man a watch. We got a whole nother campaign. We could have replicas of the Eco Belt. Holding up the Eco Belt. Imagine Nobody McDonuts coming down the aisle. And the Eco Belt is on either side with signs and shirts. It comes around the ring, comes into the ring. The hard cam is aimed at the fandom. And they're all holding up Eco Belts. Michael Cole is talking. Oh my God, is this ever the next PLE? And behind Michael Cole, the Eco Belt. You know what I'm saying? We aren't utilizing this enough. Those wrestlers with masks on could be a campaign. As soon as you see a luchador, you could start the fuck ice chant. But that doesn't happen at WWE. That happens at AEW. You know what I'm saying? That happens at AEW. So it looks to me like there will be no physical anything at the end. There's no more matches. Right now, it's just promos. Like I say, there's a month before WrestleMania. In that time, these two guys, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, they're going to be going at each other. Something that I didn't mention that did happen in the beginning. Seth Rollins, most recent Paul Heyman guy, beat the shit out of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman called out Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman guy, to come beat up Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman guy, because it's personal. So Brock Lesnar comes out, and he comes to get into Seth Rollins, and something amazing happened. New talent. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a big guy. As a matter of fact, I happen to remember when Brock Lesnar came out. His move was called the F5. He puts you up on his shoulders, spins you out. And, it's kind of like to me, it kind of goes into like a DDT, like a body rack spins into like a DDT, RKO kind of thing. But John Cena was the doctor of thugonomics when they came out. John Cena and Brock Lesnar have a lineage where they were part of SoCal Wrestling. So the class that came in with John Cena, Dave Bautista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe didn't come to WWE because earlier I mentioned in the Samoan bloodline, Umaga. They wanted to Umaga Samoa Joe, and he didn't want it. His name's Joe. He's from Samoa. He's Samoa Joe. That's his gimmick. Wrestling is over. I'm going to kind of keep going. So John Cena and Brock Lesnar are from the same class. Brock Lesnar comes out doing the F5. Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena says, "You got the F5, I've got the FU." His finishing move is now called the Attitude Adjustment. It was called the FU at the time. So Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman guy, comes out and he's about to beat the shit out of Seth Rollins. And what happens? Obafemi comes out. Obafemi is about the same size as Brock Lesnar. And he comes out. I don't give a fuck who you are. Obafemi is a very large black man. And he put Brock Lesnar on the mat, on his back, placed his foot on him. And the art of storytelling is Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman guy, ended The Undertaker's streak like 30 plus and won. 30? 20? Brock Lesnar defeated him. Up until then, Undertaker had not been defeated at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar is fighting Obafemi, new guy, at WrestleMania. So when I was telling you, the art of storytelling, you need the old to sell the new. Maxine Dupri, new, has to pass through Natty Neidhart, old. I was talking about during the match, totally misunderstood a lot, but now that I see the aftermath, I understand it. AJ Lee was a diva when she should have been a women's champion. So AJ Lee, current Intercontinental Women's Champion, defeated Bayley and then went face to face with Becky Lynch. Do you know what I see? The art of storytelling. AJ Lee, the last diva, is going to have to go through the 4 horsewomen to prove her worth in the new wrestling era. So she defeated Bayley. Her next rivalry is with Becky Lynch. I see Charlotte Flair coming next. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné is over in AEW living her best life. I hear rumor Pamela Martinez, Bayley, might be also going to AEW. But going back to my guy, Wade Keller, the original independent journalist, I wrote a piece called Wade Keller Did It First. Wade Keller, independent journalist in the kayfabe world, new journalism. I look at it through that scope. What is coming next? Bayley was just defeated. Bayley has been doing public appearances and griping about how they aren't utilizing her to her full potential. They're utilizing her to give other people the rub. She wants her run. She deserves her run. She is better suited for a run because she is an absolute fan. When I say she's an absolute fan, she goes to other people's shows to support them. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, wrestling's over. My whole concept was kind of talking about the wrestling concepts, the art of storytelling, without it being legitimately like covering the show, because everything is about the art of storytelling. In 2026, new journalism is in the world of kayfabe. This is my home. I've been able to rattle off and give you context of behind the curtain stuff. Thank you, Wade Keller. My piece is called Wade Keller Did It First by Nick G, a dude on the couch. Check it out. By learning things behind the curtain by way of my guy, Wade Keller. By learning the art of storytelling from watching storylines, from watching performers, from watching for swerves, deceptions, messaging, secret coding. Real quick on Michael Cole. He's soon to retire out of WWE. I want to give recognition to the fact that I grew up listening to Michael Cole contributions on Fly 92 in the Albany area. So big up to Michael Cole. I remember when he was young. To recap, to follow around. Boom! The music hits. Nobody McDonough is walking down the aisle. Every 6 seats, there's somebody holding up a sign. Says Hard Times. Got a picture of a watch. Wearing a t-shirt. Hard Times. Picture of a watch. Comes down. Signed shirt. Comes around, goes up the steps. The hard camera's watching. Nobody McDonough in the center of the ring. The big wall of fandom has shirts and signs. Hard Times. Because hard times, daddy. You work for a company for 30 years and they give a man a watch. Then they kick him on the butt and replace this man with a computer. That's hard times, daddy. And then Michael Cole was talking, and this guy said nobody gives fuck one about Michael Cole because hard times, daddy. Hard times. Big dusty fat head. And then after the show, during the show, before the show, you got a team of people talking to the people. You aren't saying which do you prefer because we aren't talking about flavors of gum. We're talking to the people. Hey, dog, where you at? Hey, dog, where you at? Hey, dog, where you at? Because once you start compiling where you're at, you get a big picture of what you're looking at. Our current polling methods, which started out deciding which toothpaste you like better, are being set a premise to get to a result so that nobody McDonough can stand in the middle of the ring and say just the right thing to make you cheer. Because the company put that man in the ring to say the thing that's going to make you cheer. We aren't part of the company. We're part of the fandom. And our fandom is what allows us to go up to the concession stands and buy our beers. The fandom is what lets us go up and grab our hot dogs and slices of pizza, nachos. Our fandom is what sends us up to the stand so I can get my Hard Times t-shirt. Daddy, the one that's got the watch. The one that's got the watch. That's how you know that John Cena, You Can't See Me, is worth it. Now, I did briefly, I mentioned my guy Danhausen, a guy who is a cottage industry unto himself. He showed up, and the IWC, well knowing who this man is, said, "What the fuck was that?" when he premiered at the last PLE a couple weeks back. What the fuck was that? Now, I'm a fan. I geeked. I loved it. Last week, I talk about my independent wrestling people. And I want to give a quick shout out to a local wrestler, Taylor One Shot, who is a transgender woman having transgender shows and is wrestling Kid Bandit, who 2 years ago, as a transgender wrestler, was in the top 100 of Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 300. Now, I have a friend who wrestles independent, a trans woman who has struggled not with her life, with other people accepting her life. And this individual is living my dream life by wrestling this person. Also, next week, this person, Taylor One Shot, will be wrestling with ODB. If you remember from TNA, ODB, bro, I'm excited because I want to watch ODB wrestle, not just because ODB's wrestling with my friend. Independent wrestling is everything. Last week, I saw my dude. He wrestles out of Arizona. Independent wrestling is everything. His name is Gino Rivera. Gino told you so on socials if you're looking. But Gino Rivera, he comes out and he was throwing shirts. And Danhausen says to everybody while Gino's throwing out shirts, and everybody that didn't get a shirt, you need to go buy a shirt. If you did not go buy a shirt, you are cursed. Danhausen has sold so much merch, he doesn't need to wrestle. He just needs to show up. Danhausen is a moneymaker. So, what does that say? The fandom has voted for Danhausen, a man who doesn't wrestle, at a wrestling show over Triple H, over Rey Mysterio, over R-Truth. You know what I'm saying? One of the things, and this is how I guess on wrestling, one of the things that I watch, who's selling. It doesn't matter who is wrestling. It doesn't matter who's headlining. When people walk into a wrestling arena and they start buying their shit, the piece that I wrote is called Sell Everything by Nick G, a dude on the couch. In it, everything about wrestling is marketing. The fan behind Michael Cole with the shirt is selling another shirt. When I turned on, Monday Night Raw, the first thing that I saw behind Michael Cole was a Steve Austin skull and another Steve Austin skull. Bing, bing, bing. Why are there two of the entire catalog of wrestlers and available merch? Are there two Steve Austin shirts immediately behind Michael Cole? Product placement. Nobody McDonut gets announced. Bam! The music hits. Strutting down the aisle. Hard times, Daddy. Hard times. And you got a man to watch. And he walks up the steps. He grabs his microphone. He's standing in the middle of the ring. The hard cam is aimed at him. Behind him is a wall of fandom. Hard times, Daddy. Give a man a watch. And behind Michael Cole, and coming up in the next match, Molly Holly. Hard times, Daddy. And you give a man a watch. And then you got me. You work for a company for 30 years. After 30 years, they give a man a watch. They kick him in the butt. They replace his job with a computer. That's hard times, Daddy. I'm Nick G. This is my couch. If you plant me, I grow. If you're going to believe in someone, why not believe in me? Right?